Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to follow on from the last video I made that was talking about the kind of coronavirus pandemic that has destroyed the world of football for the coming few weeks, perhaps months, we don't know. There's still a lot of meetings to be made. The UEFA having emergency talks on Thursday apparently. There's still got to be decisions made by respective footballing authorities such as the SFA, the FA, the Dutch Football Association, the German football. Everywhere in Europe has got to meet over and discuss what is going to happen with the upcoming season and what's going to happen with the whole situation, who's going to get the league title, if the season will even get a league champion, who'll be going down, who'll be going up. There's so much to discuss, and there's so much that has been raised from this pandemic that it's not got a simple answer. It really hasn't, and there's a big cloud of uncertainty which just is over it all. It just kind of lingers over the whole of football across Europe. There has to be a form of consistency. I don't think that it's a situation where one league could take one route and the rest go another. I guess UEFA at the end of the day will have a big say in the matter on Thursday after this meeting. We see what happens there. Look, we've still got other things to focus on. There's meant to be a European Championship coming up this summer. There's European competitions that we don't even know finish, a Champions League and a Europa League, as well as respective leagues and domestic competitions. There's a lot. It's not as simple an answer as saying here in Scotland, let's give the title to Celtic or let's continue the league season. Look, it's got to be far more complicated than that, and me, a wee specky guy behind the camera, is not going to be able to sit down and give the answer either. So I'm just here to give my opinion on what I think should happen with the Scottish League, taking everything else out of consideration, what the next steps are, how long do we have to wait. And yes, this will probably change. We'll probably be making videos talking about it in a different manner by the end of the week when all these meetings are made and held across Europe. That will have a far greater idea. And plus, as well, this is not just a football situation. Let me just clarify one thing. The last thing that matters in this situation is football. This is a global matter which is, blew up to an extent that no one would have ever predicted, and has actually got people's lives and families and work and everything. It's just a whole situation that is not pretty, and I'm sure football is rightly being put on the back burner until it kind of blows over and we have a solution. So this is me just talking a hypothetical situation, what would happen with our division, what would happen with our competitions, but first and foremost we've got to make sure we look after the health and safety of the fans, the players, the staff, everybody involved in the game, and the health and safety of us and everything else comes first rather than the game itself. This is just a hypothetical situation. I'm not that dark, black-hearted. I'm not saying that this doesn't matter, let's get the football back on. Look, as Wayne Rooney rightly came out and said today, obviously everybody knows how much of a big Wayne Rooney fan I am, but the authorities and such handled it in a bad manner, should have handled it sooner, and he would never be able to forgive the relevant authorities if anything was to happen to someone in his family, if he was to spread the disease or whatever, the virus to anyone else. So it's a difficult one. It's a scenario which is not pretty, it's not ideal, and hopefully we will see the return of football soon, but there's still a lot to go. But what happens up here? Neil Lennon came out the other day and said, look, if the season was to be ended, we'd be expecting to see the title, we deserve to see the title, we've worked hard, we're 13 points clear at the top of the table, and Celtic should rightfully have that title and not be stripped of it just because of unforeseen circumstances which are out with anyone's control. So obviously as a Celtic fan, and Celtic fans will quite rightly gather around Neil Lennon and agree, I do see that as the situation. Look, I think if the title was to be decided in any manner, I don't think it should just be null and voided and given to no one. I think it should be given to Celtic, but there is a lot of complications that go alongside that, and we'll try and cover it in this video. Celtic are 13 points clear, and yes, it is mathematically possible for Rangers to catch Celtic, but let's be realistic here and let's be honest. And as a Rangers fan, I want honesty from you in the comments as well. If you was 13 points clear and at the top of the table, about to stop Celtic winning 9 in a row, 13 points clear, and this broke out and the guys came out and said, nah, we're null and void and that, it doesn't count, next year will be the 9 in a row season, how would that sit with Rangers fans? How would that be received by the wide support of Rangers fans? It wouldn't be received well at all. There would be riots, quite rightfully probably, because it would be finally the year Rangers win their league title after everything they went through, and then it would just be stripped away. So why on the other hand should Celtic, who are 13 points clear, let's be honest, and Rangers fans have even admitted it, that the league is done, why should that just be torn away from Celtic? That is the question there. Now, should the season be null and voided? I don't think so. I think we should give it till the end of the month at least and see what's happening with the whole pandemic itself and see if it calms down, if there's any form of solution. It is something that is predicted to die down eventually, but we just don't know when. There's no guaranteed answer of when this will be sorted, when people will be safe to go out and go to football games and everything else. But if the situation comes up that, you know, the season can go on, say behind closed doors, I'm sure we'd all rather take that than someone turning around and going, no, null and void. Nothing matters. Karen Brady came out the other day, the West Ham, one of the members of the West Ham board, her of The Apprentice, if you might know her as that. She came out and said the Premier League season should be null and voided, shouldn't count. And once again, as much as I despise Liverpool, there is no way you can turn around to Liverpool and go, you're about to win your first title in 30 years, but no. When they're sitting, 20 points clear at the top of the Premier League, not going to get catched with only 8 games to go. Look, over 75% of the season has been played in Scotland by every single team. It's different. Some Rangers fans are using the excuse in 1939 the season was null and voided because of the war. Yes, we were 5 games into the season at the time. It was a very different situation. Also, there was bombs getting thrown about, so it was a little bit different. You know, Govern's near the shipyards and all that. You know, that would have been a bit harder at Ibrox if there was bombs flying down. Look, it's 75% of the way done. Rangers are not going to catch Celtic in any realistic manner. It's not going to happen. Celtic's title has been well earned this year. Now, if the season gets null and voided, I'll be understanding. This is something which is affecting lives at the end of the day, right? But it's something that can be, you know, worked on. We can find a solution, and if that is playing football behind closed doors eventually, or waiting a little bit longer, that is the route that this should be going down. It should not be going down the route of a null and void. I do believe that there will be a potential chance of us playing behind closed doors if it must come to that. There are players down south who have obviously been found with the virus, even the likes of Mikel Arteta getting it, people have been put into self-isolation. This is something that even Callum Hudson-Odoi has proven that once you can get over. It's affecting the older generations. It's a shame. It's horrible. But these football players and such, it's not going to affect their lives that much. Once they get over it and that, it's something that they'll be able to step back in a football park after. Callum Hudson-Odoi has already shown that. He's now in recovery. He looks fine. It looks like okay. And I'm not trying to be I don't want to sit here and sound like I've got no remorse whatsoever. That is not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, up here we seem pretty clear just now. If there is a point in the game where all players seem to be fit and they've not got signs of this virus and they can go and play behind closed doors, it's the same as me going into my work as well, because I'm not getting called off work. So if they can play behind closed doors, then finish the season off. That's what I would say. And I know a lot of people won't agree with that. I know people will be saying you're just very, very, very dark in this and you're not showing any sense of logic, but there is so many different routes we can go down to avoid this season being just cancelled altogether and no one being given anything. The other one is obviously just wait, see what happens next month, see if the games and such get called back on, public events called back on if the disease starts to calm down. And then that would be a fantastic option. Do that, just cancel the Euros this year, move them to next year. I think there's something meant to be on next summer, but just cancel it altogether, move everything about, move the footballing calendar. If we can do it to put the World Cup in the middle of December, then I'm sure we can do it for this when it's an actual global issue. So there is so many different things that can be said. Now I guess the main other thing is the bottom of the table. We can't just relegate Hearts. It's too close down there to say Hearts unlucky, you were down at the bottom when this all kicked off, you're going down, because they could claw themselves out of that and realistically have a good chance of doing it. It's the same with Hamilton, it's the same with St Mirren. Every team down the bottom there has a chance of staying up and going down. It's not as easy as just saying that. So what do? Do you give Celtic their title and then keep everyone else in the league and then rob Dundee United of their title because they're clear as well? It is very difficult, it's not simple. I think we should just do anything to avoid this season being null and void. If that's playing behind closed doors, if that is just waiting for as long as we must, obviously there comes a point we can't wait till like September and then continue the season, because then that's the whole thing knackered. You know, then you ask when does the other seasons and that start. There is a way that we can move around this, and I'm sure after these meetings on Thursday and such, we'll have a far greater idea. Now, I do think Celtic should be awarded their title if it comes to the point where it should be null and voided, but I don't think we'll get there. Right now, at this current minute, I'm confident we'll see the football come back. I think there is positive signs, especially in Britain, that could happen. You know, it's one of those ones we just need to see where the spread of this virus goes. If it does get gradually worse and worse and worse, and it's not worth the risk, then there's a lot of questions to be asked. It's public safety. Public health and safety has to be the priority. Football is on the back burner. And I don't want to make it a whole thing where I just sound selfish and just want Celtic to get their title, because it's not about that. It's about the people first. It's about keeping everyone safe. But Neil Lennon said it right. You know, the title shouldn't be taken away from us. Jurgen Klopp, they can't take his title away from him either. People are sitting on a different side of everything. And I guess it's one of those ones, put your team in a different scenario and your opinion may change, but I think I'd be the same if Rangers were at the top. I don't think they should be rightfully robbed of whatever they would be earning or getting, but this is the situation we find ourselves in. How does the season end? What do you think? How does it go? For me right now, the current moment, my definite answer, wait till the end of the month. If must be, play behind closed doors. Get it done. Get the season finished. I know football, I would hate to see football behind closed doors, but it would ruin football. As many people have said in the television and such, it would ruin football knowing that this season was just completely scrapped when we're over 75% of the way through. It's a hard one. Everyone will differ. People won't agree with me. People will probably be quite aggressive towards my views on it, but everyone's different. And I think it's scenario dependent, which is a shame, but it just is the case. We'll see what happens. If you have enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. I know this might not sit well with a few people. But it's just my opinion at the end of the day. You'll see opinions from everyone in the media and everyone on Twitter of how the season goes. But hopefully there is something served up that creates an interesting end to the season rather than it just being scrapped altogether. Like and subscribe, as I said. Keep safe. See you all next time.